Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit, about a topic that comes up when we do talk about lower volumes of training. And I am not saying that I fully endorse this because I don't. I generally like to see, more volume than this, even for my lower volume clients. But take guys like Burkham and Menzer, and I'm not saying I fully agree with their stuff. I think Menzer's stuff was almost borderline ridiculous. But Martin Burkham came in and showed us just over a decade ago that people could get crazy jacked and ripped and pretty dang strong on very low volumes of training as long as they trained really hard. And I think this creates a problem for a lot of traditional bodybuilding circles. I think it creates a problem for the exercise science community. Keeping in mind they have fluctuated a lot back and forth. There were studies showing 5 to 10 sets a week could produce maximum growth. Then a lot of the newer stuff with certain circles that push those things out. But keep in mind, there was a lot of that just 10 years ago. There was a ton of it. You had guys like, and I'll talk about Burkham in a minute, but we had guys like Menzer who were telling people you just need one really hard set a week. And I'm not saying you should do that, but did his people still get jacked? Did Menzer produce some pretty decently big guys? Yeah. Again, then you saw the Dorian Yates here. Now, I will point out Dorian Yates did a lot of hard warm-up sets that he didn't count as work sets, so that kind of throws a wrench in his volume stuff. But you guys do get the idea. There's been a lot of this, and there's been a lot of natties who've gotten pretty big and pretty strong on fairly low amounts of volume. We've seen eras where a lot of powerlifting champions were so busy they only worked out one day a week or twice a week, right? There were guys doing that in powerlifting who were jacked and strong. Even 20, 30, 40 years ago, there have been a few documented cases of some guys who were like, yeah, for this, whole 2 years, I really could only get in and train on the weekends. And their workouts were 30, 45 minutes. And they just trained really heavy and really hard. Some of these guys are squatting 600 pounds. Okay. What does this tell us about volumes versus intensity? Means that people can still get great results on very low volumes. The caveat being you better train really, really hard. Okay. And again, I've seen guys who thought they trained hard who tried to take these approaches and they really didn't. Okay. We have different definitions of training hard. Different definitions. Like that deadlift set you just saw me do, that was hard. That bench set was hard. Notice the struggle on the final rep. And those are big weights. That's 315 on the pause benching, 500 pounds on the deadlift. We have our own definitions of what training hard is. But if you're going to do these approaches, you have to train hard. To train super hard, but it does work. Thing is, it's like I tell people, you can't tell yourself you're training hard. You can't view it that way because that's mentally defeatist. But that's what they showed us. How about Martin Burkham? Look at some of the routines he was publishing about how he trained, and look at how he looked doing his lean gains thing with the fasting, really high protein. But it worked. If you were to ask a lot of the current experts in the exercise science field, they would tell you it couldn't work. But people were getting jacked doing it. They were getting jacked. I mean, his routines were literally 3 heavy sets of bench, 3 heavy sets of squats, 3 heavy sets of deadlift, 3 heavy sets of chins every week with a little bit of accessory work. If you needed some arms or some calves, some overhead pressing, a little rowing, you did it. But those were still kept very modest volume. They were all out sets. But I mean, you look at that and go, How jacked is anyone really getting doing 3 all-out heavy sets focusing on progression on squat, bench, deadlift, and chins? 3 sets per week. Working out for 30 minutes 3 days a week. We listen to that and go, yeah, it can't be. But they got jacked, and he got jacked. The guy looked phenomenal. Their followers, many of them got jacked if they did this stuff the right way. Of course, he had them keep super tight controls on diet because that was the whole concept with it. It was supposed to be lean gains. Definitely a big factor. But did it work? It worked. This is why I seriously question a lot of the newer data, because we just had those studies. We had those studies just 10, 11 years ago. Multiple studies coming out of very reputed exercise science labs that were showing that trained lifters could pretty much, in many cases, all 5 sets for a muscle per week could gain maximum growth. They showed some that if they exceeded 10, they got smaller. they would lose progress if they weren't on anything. Now, I don't think that's necessarily the case, but again, I've seen the same with some of my clients. Some of my people do need higher volumes because of their lower neural drive, other stuff happening. They do struggle to really push. And I get that. And I think that is definitely a segment of the population. And I feel like you can identify those people as a coach or a trainer. But what about people who can generate a lot of push? What about people who can generate a lot of intensity set per set? How much volume do we really need? And at what point is it really, we're just doing junk volume, or we're just coming in to just train? Because some guys have gotten really, really big with a very, very little. And again, I've seen the same with my own clients. I've had some drug-free lifters get considerably bigger and stronger who already had years of training. Just with 30, 45-minute workouts. Okay. I've seen plenty of them. And again, stronger if I'm talking, squatting well past 4 plates, benching 3+ plates. We're talking decently respectable stuff for people not on anything. And I've seen plenty of guys who were big advocates of HIIT, who I've known who were in the bodybuilding world, who still got phenomenal results, who had phenomenally impressive physiques. And I've seen some in real life and saw how they trained before. I've been doing this a long time. So it makes me very much question, how much do we really need? And what's going on with a lot of this conflicting research? All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.